Let's have a little chit chat about what perfection meant to me growing up as a child versus now as an adult. I feel like this is a video where a lot of people will be able to relate because growing up, I was raised with the idea of perfection, like a lot of second generation Asian Americans and probably a lot of other people. The idea of perfection meant that if I did something and it wasn't perfect, it wasn't acceptable. It wasn't done right. And I'm sure a lot of people will also relate to this sentiment. It felt like nothing I ever did was good enough unless it was perfect. And if by some weird ass miracle I did do something perfect, the response that I would get was good. That's how it should always be. Not, I'm proud of you, good job, you work so hard, you should be proud of yourself. Not the typical things that children want to hear, you know? I must have somehow realized at some point that the reaction I was after was not the reaction I was ever going to get. And I think when that realization hit, that's when I subconsciously started settling as I got older. I started telling myself things like, you did try your hardest, you did put in effort, you did do your best. But deep down inside, I knew that I hadn't. I was either taking shortcuts or I was being lazy or I just didn't fully try my hardest, you know? And looking back, I definitely know that I was lying to myself because I always had this weird feeling in my chest where, on one hand, I was like trying to convince myself that, like, yeah, you did your best, you did try, you did put an effort, while also trying to fight the feeling because I knew it was a lie. But I fought so hard to believe that lie because if I didn't believe the lie, I would have to face the truth. And the truth was the attention I was after, the praise I was after, the feeling of, oh, my parents are so proud of me, that was never going to happen. At least not in the way that I needed and wanted it to. Perfection now, as an adult, it's shifted its form for me. And I find that really interesting. Now it's kind of become more of an excuse for execution, or rather, lack of. I find myself saying, oh, I don't want to start X or I don't want to do Y until I can do it correctly or right the first time around. And even though it's a different kind of perfectionism versus what I grew up with, I know that my perfectionism as an adult, it's kind of branched off of this tree called the fear of failure. Now, I know my fear of failure probably developed from how perfectionism affected me as a child growing up, because one thing was certain, and that is the reaction that I would get from my parents if I did something that wasn't fully perfect, if I did make a mistake, if I did do something wrong. That was a guarantee. So naturally, I started trying to avoid failure. How do you avoid failure? Well, you can't fail if you don't ever try. So, for the fear of failure, if I delay execution of whatever actions that I need to do, I can avoid failure. If I tell myself that I'm avoiding execution of the action because I want to do research, because I want to do it right the first time around, I want to minimize mistakes. Well, those are all excuses for the execution, which then delays any potential failure that could happen. But I think we all know realistically that's not a good way to go through life. If you allow yourself to be held back by the fear of failure, the fear of not being perfect, then what are you ever going to accomplish in life? And I'm not just saying this to make it sound like you're getting a lecture by watching my video. I'm saying this because I need to hear it myself. I'm saying this for myself because, surprise, surprise, I still struggle with perfectionism and the fear of failure. Last year, I had made a video called Fear of Failure. And I do think I have made some small improvements since that video. Okay. In my fear of failure video, I talked about it in reference to the gym because at that time in my life, that's where it was manifesting itself and really making itself in my face where I couldn't ignore it. I had to acknowledge it. I talked about how I hate doing unfamiliar exercises in the gym for the first time. My trainer was assigning me exercises that I've seen before, or in theory I know how to do. I've just never physically done it myself. So I was getting all up in my head and I was getting super embarrassed thinking everyone was staring at me even though nobody was staring at me, even though I was drawing more attention to myself, having this internal fit of trying to do it, being embarrassed rather than just doing it. But it came down to not wanting to try new exercise in front of other people in case I do it wrong. I now have a small group at the gym and I know a lot more people. I have my gym bros, and that has significantly helped me at the gym. They're always encouraging me to go up in weight. They're correcting my form. They're spotting me. And I got one guy, he will literally look up workouts, not workouts. He looks up exercises with me and he tries them out with me. So I don't have to feel like I'm doing it all alone. He does it with me. And that has significantly helped. And here is where I am going to call myself out a little bit and expose myself. I know I feel a little bit better now that I have my gym bros who are kind of supporting me at the gym. I know I feel better, but it's because in my head, they kind of act like a shield. They're like a human shield. They're all established lifters, they all can move significant weight. And in my mind, someone else who is a regular gym goer, if they were to see this person and see them with me, then I feel by association, I'm kind of protected in a weird way. And to me, it's kind of like, oh, you can't make fun of me for not knowing how to do something or not lifting heavy because I'm a girl, but because I also know these guys, and you're not going to say anything rude to me in front of these guys. And because I see my gym bros as my human shield, I know that I haven't truly gotten over my fear of failure, at least in terms of the gym. But the good thing about having my gym bros as my human shield is that I now have the courage and confidence to practice acting through the fear of failure. Whenever I have a new exercise, whenever I have a new weight I want to try, I now get to practice pushing through that discomfort because I have this safety net past it. So yes, I'm not over my fear of failure in the gym setting, but because I'm now able to practice pushing through that discomfort, I can hopefully slowly break down the existence of that fear. It is interesting to me that perfectionism has always existed in my life in some way. It's always been a component some way, somehow. But I really find it interesting how it's morphed itself. I know they still branch off from the same source in a way, but I do think it's interesting how it went from being a child aiming for perfection because I was after a certain response, certain kind of attention from my parents and honestly anybody, others. And now it's kind of flipped in a sense where I'm after perfection because I'm trying to avoid a certain response from people. You can learn a lot of things when you analyze your life, analyze yourself. Anyways, I thought I would end this video on a happier note. If any of you follow me on Instagram by chance, well, you already know about Starby, but this is the new member of my family. Her name is Starby, formerly Starburst, and she is an outdoor stray that I've been taking care of for a few years. And we were finally able to bring her inside for good last month. So my house has been a little hectic trying to get this little chicken nugget to get along with my other two cats. They tolerate each other in the sense that they know they don't like each other. So they try and stay out of each other's way. Oh, look at her. She's got little boots. Ooh, be nice. She's got little boots right now because she just got a dental done. They all did. And she's got two little furry boots on the front. So she looks a little goofy. And yeah, I've been trying to get my cats to get along, and it's hard, y'all. It's hard. I'm only used to getting a kitten and a full-grown cat to get along. It's been hectic, and my work schedule has been taking up a lot more time, which is why this video is late. But you know what? I'm giving you kitty footage. Oh, she's purring. I always wanted to do this thing where I put the mic next to the cat. I'm going to try that and see what it does. Okay, so I don't know if you heard any of that. You probably heard her sniffing the mic, but say bye. We'll see you next time.